Hello, welcome to the Shaily Show. First of all, let me apologize for not coming online for the past couple of weeks. My father passed away. Okay, so today we have the opportunity to host Sanjay Sharma, a managing director at Accenture, who I know for the past 8 years. And we've worked together to deliver many unique analytics projects. So I thought, who else other than him who can explain analytics, machine learning, data science better than anyone else? So, without any further ado, I would like to invite Sanjay Sharma, Managing Director, Accenture Digital. So, hi Sanjay,
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, whatever the time zone is, we work across time zones.
welcome to the Shaily Show.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
Good, very good.
Perfect, Sanjay. So, Sanjay, as we discussed, let's start with some background about you. So, give us some information and details about where you come from, something to know about you.
Okay. So at this point of time, I have spent almost 25 years in what we call by different names, analytics, data science, AI, etc., etc. Okay. Uh, my first qualification was postgraduate in economics with specialized metrics and monetary economics. And I started my career with the bank as economist with the bank, and applying all those statistical techniques or whatever we need to apply for the bank. And then I kept on the journey the way we do in the corporate world, changing jobs, etc., etc. Moved to different other companies. Some of the roles were pure econometricians, some of the roles were business plus something, right? And finally ended up with 14 years ago, where the focus was on management consulting, which has analytics or data science embedded in within that. At that time, data science was not the word, analytics, which you used to say, or advanced analytics. And later on, it acquired a different hues. We started calling him data science. Now people say even the data science is old, it's machine learning or something else. So, but that's what we are, like Ganga flowing from Himalaya to Ganga Sagar, becoming big, changing color of the water, etc.
Great. Before we get into more details, tell a fun fact about yourself.
Well, I never intended to be what you call data scientist, honestly speaking, right? This could be fun fact also, and this could be takeaway from also this from my life and my experience, etc., etc. In fact, when I joined that bank, which is a government-owned bank in management advisory, I looked myself from the management perspective. Even in my PG, I opted for econometrics because I want to do something in economics, not in econometrics. And to do a good economics, I needed a handle on the data and the way you manage the data, right? And then again in the bank, I never as the statistician. I viewed myself as a banker, right? You're sitting and advising a general manager. What would you do, right? So when all this sector started opening up in India, I think GE and MX were the top two companies which came India in the early stages and they were hiring. And in my preference list,
Yep.
these was at the bottom. I will never be a pure statistician kind of a thing. And then pretty much later I ended up having these companies. So I mean, this is fun fact, this is whatever you call it. But that approach also brings something which made me very, very successful, because I started viewing every problem from business perspective, not from data science perspective, right? So what tools we are using, what techniques we are using is secondary. What is the business problem? What kind of solution is applicable? That is the first and foremost problem. Start looking from that angle, then suddenly you unshackle yourself, right? Deep learning, shallow learning, reinforced learning, known learning, God knows, so many things, right?
Yep.
You get sort of lost. But the moment you put your focus on what's the problem and what is to be solved, and then you think about what could be the algorithm or platform or whatever it is. So not only it is
Yep.
funny when I look at myself that I never wanted to be a statistician or data scientist, it is also profound that that approach ended up being a biggest success factor for me.
Sure, sure. So, well, as we go forward, I would ask the audience to please make notes and ask questions, and also share and like this video so people can also get more information about from the interview, or from the discussion we're having. Sanjay, I think we have discussed this quite a number of times about analytics being a business solution, or solving business problems, which is the main aspect of it. But what I've seen in the market these days is that people tend to focus more on the technique, and as you rightly said, the people focus on the data science aspect of it than looking at what problem they're trying to solve. What's your point of view on that?
Yeah, that's not a good approach in my opinion, and I can give few examples where I can tell you how stupid it was. But
Yep,
if I look at the industry and the way it evolves, I think it's part of the maturity.
yep,
So during the mid 90s in India, people did not bother about the business problem. All they bothered about it, whether you have done an analytics or not, whether you have done something in statistics or not, if done, come over.
yep,
Okay. And most of these things which were happening in India were sort of analytics sweatshop.
yep,
And then it grew the maturity curve, and the people started thinking, okay, analytics is fine, but have you done underwriting using analytic? Okay,
yep.
underwriting is fine, but this is underwriting is different from credit card. See, the business angle is coming. Then the second wave
Yeah,
came when we were talking about machine learning and stuff, right? And now suddenly you feel that there are very few guys who are machine learning. So whosoever knows the way machine learning, I want to leverage that person. And then people started thinking that machine learning or data science is a fungible something, right? So suddenly there's a lot more focus on what you are applying, etc., etc. And the
yep,
contributory factor is we, you and me, right? And sometimes sitting at the client. Think about it. I'm a CMO at a very top company, and very recently hired as a CMO over there. I go to my CEO. Can I say that I'll keep on pushing the same button which my previous CMO was pushing? No, I cannot. The fact of the life is bread and butter is same. So I'll say, look,
yep,
that toolkit which that guy was using was old, right? I want to do something with machine learning. And if machine learning is
yep,
being used quite often, I'll say deep learning. Right? Pretty soon I will be saying RNM, reinforced neural network, and I'll say I will do something in auto ML. So I need a new shiny toy to sell myself. That's one. The second is, if you are a client
yep,
and I come to you, come and sell you something, and I say, Shelly, I'll solve this on an Excel. Yeah, I'll say, I don't need you if you are going to solve.
mhm,
You'll say, I don't need if you are going to solve it Excel. So I have to tell you, Shelly, look, this is a new problem. This needs reinforced neural network, making sure
mhm,
that you know only 50 reinforced neural network, and then I start establishing my credibility. So in some way, both of us have started, pushing this faff in the conversation around, right? But
yep,
the focus, I still say, it should be very sharply focused on the outcome. I give you one example of a great company, and I'll use the name of the company. This company is Nielsen,
okay,
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 and tons of work which they are doing in market sizing, shaping, whole host of it. Almost entire work is being done using crosstabs. Not that they do
yep,
not have the capability or capacity to do the cutting edge analytics. They do have very good guys, throughout the companies. But bulk of the work is being done using the crosstabs, and they are doing a fabulous job out of it. They do not need a hell lot of tool. They do not need woolly-headed scientists coming from the universities at astronomical figures. What they need is a guy who knows the market and who knows that category, that business, and fabulous traction is coming from the business. Super outcome is coming out of it, right? So
yep,
in our parlance, this could be simple descriptive analytics, poor chap, descriptive analytics, lowest of the whatever
mhm.
pyramid you should. But if you see from the business angle, if you can solve that by just doing the cross tab, why the hell you want to do a Python on Spark or something?
Hello, do we have you, Sanjay?
Yeah,
You still here? Good stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Sanjay, one more question. one more question that has been asked time and again, and I've answered this question quite a few times, but I think I would like to know your perspective as well. What are the core skills that are required for a data scientist? Now, I know this word is quite recently come into play, and when me and you were playing with data a long time ago, we were pure blind analytics people, right? And then that has
Yeah.
changed from being analytics to doing data science, and then well, people are talking machine learning as well. So, what is the core technical skill, technical or an overall skill required to become a data scientist, in your opinion?
So I would avoid using technical word here, Shelly, and I'll
Okay.
share
Right.
that experience with you. I'll take a step back, and I think what we need critically is inherent analytical capability in your brain, in your mind, the way you think,
Yep.
right? That's raw capability, right? For example, there are certain guys who are born singers. There are certain guys who
Yep.
are born painters. There are certain
Mm-hmm.
guys who are born analytics guys. Look
Mm-hmm.
at yourself. You never took a formal education in analytics, right? You are an engineer and you
Yep.
have
Yep.
done fabulous work in different situation, different companies, different market context, etc., etc. I give you one example. I
Yep.
was trying to figure out a toolkit which can evaluate candidates for me.
Mm-hmm.
So we hire a lot many people, and the interview
Okay.
process focuses on key technical skills, as you just told me, right? So if I'm looking for Python related stuff, I'll ask Python questions. If I'm looking for, say, binary model building, I'll talk about binary
Yep.
choice, etc., etc. So I said, let's come from this jargon. Let's figure out that fundamental core, innate analytical skills. And there were a few
Yep.
vendors which came, and I tried to figure out which will work more. It was a dynamic psychometric testing kind of a thing. And I identify
Yep.
people who are good in analytics, who are considered bad in analytics, and then I threw some of the HR guys into the mix, who has
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with the so-called analytics. And a good
Yep.
number of HR guys scored very high on those analytics. Your analytics guys scored very poor. You got it?
Yep.
So what is happening? We are
Yep.
focusing on those technical skills. Earlier it was SAS, today it could be Python, it could be Spark, it could be PySpark or whatever. And then we test on those routines, and then we get impressed that this guy is speaking the same language, he's walking me through the project, etc., 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 etc. But I think some way we have to go back and figure out whether this guy is really good in quant skill or not. Very big. This is more of a philosophical, slant to the answer. But I think this is heart of the game. If you want to thrive in this game, if you want to survive in this game, then whatever is current. So SAS is not very prevalent except few pockets. R is going
Yep.
down because there are certain application issues, but still popular because it's cheap and easily available. Python is becoming very strong because it is getting applied in different places, including deep learning. And then it gets connected with PySpark, which increases the power of computation, right, and ability to do streaming data and those kind of stuff. So a person
Yep.
can make a choice. If you want to take a career and say risk, you need to do something in SAS. If you want to do
Yep.
something in streaming or cognitive computing, maybe Python, PySpark, and some toolkits would be necessary,
But I
right?
think you and me will agree on to the fact that a complete data scientist in real sense does not exist, because you will need the data skills from an IT perspective, you will need statistical understanding, and you will need um, presentation skills. And one person in all cannot have that, because, and we know that from experience, isn't it?
That is becoming a big challenge now because this world is becoming a lot more complex. No more
Yep.
you have an RDBMS and you create an ODBC tunnel using SAS and data will come to you,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
It is distributed computing, data structures, data lake, or data
Hmm.
swamp, as the case may be with the individual
Hmm.
case. And you have to get that data, then third party data, then unstructured data, etc., etc. So that ecosystems are
Yep. Yep.
changing very fast, right? So a person
Yep.
needs to be familiar with that ecosystem. A person needs to be familiar with the ecosystem of the consumption also, right?
Yep. Yep.
Whether the dashboard is being created or a PowerPoint is required, or you have to put something dynamic in Shiny or Power BI or W or something, right? Then on top of everything, you need to know the business domain also, which
Absolutely.
I pointed out. right? I give you two, three, four funny example, very funny example, right? This I could have given in the first part of the the interaction. One of a very bright guy, very very bright guy, a PhD from top institute in India, right? And it's not a fluke PhD because he's still with me and still doing a fair time. He was a new hire, and he did statistical model for promotion management. And then he came back to me with a model, very happy. That's a very robust model. The category was chocolate. And I said, okay, what is the return on investment? And he said, return on investment is 15. That is, if you put $1 in marketing, you get $15 in sales. Okay. So my reaction was, why are they producing chocolates? The advertisement. You give $1 and you get $15. Why bother about rest of it? Something is wrong. You know what happened, Shaily? Usually they start the campaign when the season is there, right? Like in Diwali in India. Typically, what you used to do, they used to start this campaign say 2-3 weeks after the beginning of season. In that particular year, they started right at the beginning of the season. So the entire seasonality got captured in our market. Got my point? Now that's very unique to and culture and the category. I give you one very funny one, and this was for an Indian client. So we were doing pricing related analytics for a retail house. Okay, different SKUs, etc. And again, this is another PhD guy from a different institute in southern part of India. Again, fabulous institute which produces outstanding people. This guy is still a very outstanding person working with. And he was very confused. He said, Sanjay, the elasticity is turning out to be positive. Positive means you increase the price, on sales will go up and revenue will also go up. That's not possible. He checked, rechecked, came back again. You know what happened? The data was very sparse. So poor guy, he pulled all the store data together. Got my point? So the mom and pop stand in the next line was Hypermart. Now, if Hypermart is selling a slightly higher price but selling huge quantity because the format is different, poor algorithm will never know.
Yeah.
Right? So it gave the positive publicity. And I said, you have done a fundamental, fabulous job by putting Sanjay Sharma's income along with Dhirubhai Ambani's income, right? That. So that's why I say, if you do not have sufficient grasp on the function and the business, then this can work as a disaster. So I do not see data science per se as a panacea for everything, right? Data science on its own is nothing. Data science is a very strong, very potent tool to achieve certain things. And that's why you and I in our professional time kept on, harping on that, start thinking like a marketing person for this particular client, this particular company, and do not think as a statistician alone. And it's a this is a fabulous
going. Sorry.
Yes.
That reminded me of that project that we went in, and they said that they'd done this particular project 3 or 4 times, and it was all statisticians building it up all the time, and it was giving no results. And when we went in and we said, well, let's bring in the domain knowledge, and that was one of the best projects we delivered.
Yes, absolutely. And it's very good. I'm thankful to you that you brought it up here, and I hope that people, share this and spread this understanding across, that this is not one Ramban which will solve everything. And that's why it's very right that when you ask people that you share that and, let people know, because this aspect generally gets ignored. I can very easily come here and talk about very high jargon that will add few shine to my pate, But the fact of life is, if you do not know your business, you cease to be in the business.
No, but the reason, my understanding of that is, the reason why people do that is because when they're doing data science, they think that that's what they should be good at. And because they've done education or studies behind that, they would come in and try and focus on that aspect as well, because that's my, that's my expertise. And I don't care about what business is doing, and I'll just go and do my little thing and send it to the business and say, business execute. And that brings the other question around execution, because it's not always that most of the models that are built in in a data science environment are executed, and that's a big challenge as well.
Yes, yes, that's a very big question. And actually, most of the successful implementations are those where execution is kept in mind, right? For example, you are saying, okay, I'll recommend to my sales representative what to sell. Reach out this information to the salesperson in time and how he can execute, right? That becomes a big question. Another example from your old geography or even the current geography, Australia. Okay, I worked again for a pricing solution for a retailer, and they wanted something rocket science, completely rocket science, right? It should have cannibalization, it should have post promotion dips captured, and it should have interrelationship captured, etc. Everything, right? So positive rub off, never negative rub off. And we kept on making more and more complicated solution. And finally, I ended up with the optimized price structure where I said, do not touch any price, implement all of them as I suggest.
Yep, yep,
I'm happy to test it out for 2 months, 3 months, right? So let's pick a store or two store, but do not touch the price because
yep,
this
yep,
is
yep.
a comprehensive all price relationships. And I said, I expect your net
Yep.
margin to grow up by say something like 1.5% to 1.75%. When result came, actually the net margin has gone minus 1.75%. Okay. So then I asked for the data that let's see what has happened. 50% of the price recommendation were in the reverse direction. Forget about the quantum. So the moment you get into a situation what's the point in getting a rocket science solution, right? So although this was a
Absolutely.
bad investment from them, but I sighed a relief, my reputation got saved by their mistake. Otherwise, it would have been a shame to say that, okay, I promised plus 1.75 and you get minus 1.75.
Well, and if you think from the business's point of view, it's a huge danger because for the person who's actually putting his neck online, is
Yeah.
now going to the board saying, well, the margins are going to go up, and suddenly they just go negative. So
Yeah.
his reputation is at stake, his credibility is at stake, and possibly his job is at stake. And we don't feel that, so we don't feel that pain which he is going to go through if something like that happens.
You know what, Shelly? This approach we have to keep for each of the stakeholder, right? You're talking about the C-suite here. Let's talk about the say category manager in that state in that retail or merchandiser, right? So I'm saying, look, this is my black box. Use the price recommendation for this, but you are responsible for the entire revenue management. He
Yep,
says, if your black box is taking decision, let him be the take the responsibility while asking me to be responsible. And
yep,
that's
yep.
where the adoption goes, right? And that's why you have to make it perspective, make it transparent at times. And that transparency may influence your choice of what tool you are using, not what tool is being talked off in the press, in the market, or which is giving weight to your CV, right? If your deep learning is not very high on transparency as far as this is concerned, variable
Mhm.
X to the variable Y, which is the outcome, then
Yep,
perhaps for these kind of situation, that is not the best solution, even if it is giving your best uplift, because this will never be implemented. The guy will not be comfortable with it, right?
absolutely.
Gradually, it can go up, but you and me, our guys who are in our business, we should show this wisdom that pull back your great knowledge, use the knowledge which is applicable for this guy. I gave you example of Nielsen, right? They are
Yeah,
using
yeah, yeah.
what we call descriptive analytics, but a fabulous outcome.
Yep. Okay. We are running short of time. Let me ask you a couple of questions, which we would like to know your point of view on. So tell
Okay.
us, where is it all going towards? What is it? What is it getting towards? Like, so, is it going to be as we've been told, data, 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 and every decision will be taken by data in the coming days? What's the future for data scientists, and how is it looking like?
So the use of data would increase in decision making, absolutely no doubt. right? Tools and
Okay.
technology will enable people to take decision basis on data, informed decision, right?
Okay.
And this embedded, the complexity and maturity of the analysis going behind those tools will also increase.
Mm,
Okay. Data science will change quite significantly. At some point of time, the distinctive line between a data engineer and data scientist would vanish. You won't know whether
yep.
it's a data scientist or a data engineer or a visualization, etc., etc. So the technology and this algorithm are marrying in a such a way that it will be very difficult to identify between them. Okay. Uh,
Mm,
which tool, which platform, that is not yet decided, because these are none of them have reached that dominant design status where you say, okay, this is one industry benchmark now. So that
mhm,
benchmark which evolved, and once it evolved and stabilizes, then I think things would be a little more clearer. But greater application, I fully agree that would happen. Some of the application could be automated also, and I see a great deal of
mm,
application for that also. So, for example, data is coming from IoT or through cognitive computing, an image is being taken, a decision is being done, right? A simple application, and again, I won't use the client name here, but steel manufacturing company, we buy through rakes, right? And there's a lot of pilferage
mhm,
over there,
mm,
and it's very difficult to catch that because the
yeah.
entire train is coming at a certain speed. So we have put cameras on top of it, which is taking picture at a regular interval, and this picture is getting transmitted to a different server where the algorithm has been developed, which is testing what is the surface of this coal in the rake, and based on the surface, what is the probability that the pilferage has taken. And the moment it has happened, within few milliseconds, it gives a signal. Those kind of automated application would be a lot more.
Okay. Okay. Now, one thing which I always ask, a funny story that you've seen in the market in the recent times where you've met someone in analytics. Well, I've had many of those. Tell me one of your favorite funny stories.
Funny means little beyond analytics about life or stuff.
No, well, you can go about life as well, but something related to
Okay.
analytics. Well, for example, one of the ones I say is, well, when I meet people, someone who's reading Excel is also calling himself as an analytics person. So
Ah, okay.
that's the basic fundamental analytics funny story for me. What's yours?
Yeah. So actually, well, this is sort of inside story. I went into a client pitch, and client was a and one person banged into me, and he said, I'm also from the same company, happy to see you. And he asked me, what do you do? And I said, I head the analytics function here. And he was, shaken completely. He said, I thought I'm the analytics lead here. you know So different version of this analytics, right? Every piece is being called analytics, and every person says I'm the head of analytics. So I have to go in a huddle in a corner and figure out, okay, what kind of head you are and what kind of tail I am. But yes, that is creating a lot of
No,
confusion.
yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. Well, that's where, remember we had these, the level of sophistication for analytics, where we talk data management and descriptive, predictive, prescriptive, and, how the organizations are actually moving in that direction. Okay. Any
Yeah, the
use
first
case?
is they interact with each other. So it is very difficult to put them in a linear structure, honestly speaking.
Yes. Any exciting use case that you've seen recently, which you think people should know?
I think I gave you one about the rakes, which I told you just now,
Yep.
right? And there are a few others in different geographies on application of cognitive computing on, say, agriculture, which
Hmm.
tells you if you've grown or not grown, if you have done what is the status of growth, etc., etc. So if you have a huge areas, huge
Hmm.
plantation, you can do it through drones or through satellite imageries. That is something very, very interesting. Or again, using drones and satellite imageries, particularly drone imagery, to assess the state of corrosion of electrical wires on high tension power
Yep.
transmission
Yep. Yep.
lines, for example.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that can tell you how what is the probability of failure of this particular wire, etc., etc. And this could be huge. They have been instances where company went out of business because the wire burned, broke down, and burning, wire came down and it started a fire in the forest, so on and so forth. So the outcome could be quite significant. I think cognitive computing doing a lot here. Natural language processing has become sort of matured. I think the
Yep.
next gold mine would be voice to data analytics.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
One thing that has been mentioned on LinkedIn by my good friend Avinjan, and he said very, very good. Well, just listen to this. He's saying interesting discussion. Data science is equal to business understanding plus data quality plus common sense plus
Ah,
basic statistics plus a proper deployment process. And I think he nailed it with the fact. Well, I think we missed out the common sense
yes.
aspect of it because the common sense is very uncommon these days.
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely right. He needs appreciation from my side for this observation.
Perfect. Okay, so we're almost at the end of the session. We've actually exceeded by a minute or so. Um, Thank you very much for being here, and I look forward to speak to you later offline. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Shelley, and thank you all our viewers and listeners. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, guys, that was Sanjay Sharma, and thank you very much for being there. And I look forward to seeing you next week with another personality on the Shaily Show. So goodbye, and this is Shaily signing off. Bye now.